Merab is one of the most dominant champions in UFC history, and he has broken multiple records. Most takedowns attempted, most takedowns landed, most consecutive wins in the Bantamweight division, all while dominating every single opponent he has to face, while at the same time, showboating.
Right for Twanis Willie late! And he gets it! Picks him up, carries him across the octagon.
But to understand how Merab did all this, we have to go back to Georgia, where this story really begins. Merab was born in 1991 in Tbilisi, Georgia. To most of the world, Georgia is a small country between Eastern Europe and Asia. But inside its borders, wrestling, sambo, and judo are more than sports. They're part of the national identity. From a young age, Merab was surrounded by stories of Georgian Olympic wrestlers. These weren't just athletes. They were heroes. For kids like Merab, combat sports weren't a choice. They were an expectation. So he trained. The foundation of his style was laid here early in his life. But in the early 2000s, there was no real path for MMA in Georgia. If you wanted to chase that dream, you had to leave the country. And Merab wanted to chase greatness. So for that reason, he left Georgia. In his early 20s, Merab moved to the United States. He didn't speak much English. He barely had money. Like so many immigrants, he worked odd jobs and manual labor just to survive, squeezing in training sessions whenever he could. That struggle, starting from nothing in a foreign country, shaped his mentality. He wasn't entitled to opportunities. He had to fight for every single one. And eventually, he found the place that would change his career forever: the Serra-Longo Fight Team in Long Island, New York. This gym was home to legends like Matt Serra, the man who shocked the world by knocking out George St. Pierre. It was home to Chris Weidman, the man who dethroned Anderson Silva. And it was where Merab would meet Aljamain Sterling, his closest friend and future brother-in-arms. Sterling helped him adjust to life in America, sharpen his skills, and break into the UFC. And it was here, in that gym, where Merab's nickname was born: the Machine. No matter how long practice went, no matter how hard the drill was, he never got tired. He kept going, and the scariest part? He always wanted more. Training partners couldn't believe it, so the name stuck. But Merab's time as the Machine hadn't gotten the time to shine just yet, no matter how impressive his stamina was. Merab's fighting career wasn't anything special just yet. He had a few decent wins, but nothing that made him stand out. Merab had started fighting on the regional scene starting in 2014, just small shows in New York and New Jersey. But Merab's fight career was about to take a huge turn when he got matched up with a supposed killer who had a record of 8-0 on the biggest stage of his career at that point, as the UFC president just happened to be in attendance for this specific fight, looking to sign talent for the UFC.
You know, this guy's supposed to be a killer, and he ends up getting matched up with Matt Serra's guy.
Myself, Ray Longo, we love this kid. He's fighting a guy that Dana personally flew out to put on this card.
And just 16 seconds into the fight, Merab knocks his opponent out with a spinning back fist, and everybody goes crazy. To say it was an impressive knockout would be an understatement. Merab just got the most impressive win of his career, and he moved on to an 8-2 record and a UFC contract just from that fight. But his UFC debut didn't go as planned. In December 2017, he fought Frankie Saenz. Merab pushed the pace and gave an example of his relentless cardio, but came up short, losing a close split decision.
The pace for most of that. Saenz moving forward here.
Yeah, you know, very interesting.
Then came Ricky Simón in April 2018. For nearly 3 rounds, Merab dominated with his infamous takedowns and showed exactly the type of fighter he was. But in the absolute final seconds of the fight, Simón locked up a guillotine. Merab fought it off viciously until the horn, and he was still conscious when the round ended.
There it is!
But for some odd reason, the referee ruled it a technical submission after the horn.
By TKO, Ricky Simón!
Which stirred up a lot of controversy, as it wasn't really a fair stoppage.
And my eyes was open, I was moving legs, and then I show everyone I was fighting.
But unfortunately for Merab, nothing happened of it. And just like that, Merab was 0-2 in the UFC. Normally, that's where the story ends for most fighters. But the UFC saw something in Merab, and the way he fought, the pace, the pressure, the relentlessness, and the fact that he was robbed of a dominant decision. So the UFC luckily decided to give him another shot. Merab took that opportunity to change and make sure that he got to stay in the UFC. And from this moment on, he never looked back. September 2018, he fought Petr Yan in Moscow. 10 takedowns and brutal pressure. The fight ended in a unanimous decision for Merab.
A sense of urgency given his last two results. I mean, he personally thinks, oh, nicely done. Trailing legs. Beautiful. He's opening up with the hands. Big head kick.
Did that plate in your arm throb for a minute? Nice takedown.
He finally got his first UFC win, and the monkey was finally off his back. Next, Brad Katona, an undefeated prospect and winner of the Ultimate Fighter. Merab smothered him in dominant fashion.
Yeah, Dualish is getting off some good shots here. This is what he typically does. He grabs the single leg and sweeps the other. There you go, beautifully timed takedown. Really was fantastic.
Then came Casey Kenny. Merab landed 12 takedowns. Analysts started calling him the machine for real now, and it wasn't something just known to his teammates.
He goes and
Environment. That's great coaching.
This was a close fight after the first round.
in the final seconds here will perhaps say hello to the bantamweight.
Then there was Gustavo Lopez, and Merab landed 13 takedowns, a short notice opponent, and he completely overwhelmed him.
20 to 5, significant strikes. Body kick that time. Big right hand. Do we get to a round two?
Next was John Dodson, a former title challenger known for speed and explosiveness. But Merab's pressure neutralized him, and it became his biggest name win yet.
And score.
That right hand start.
Wallace Willie tonight as he tries to extend his UFC winning.
Fans now started to realize this wasn't just a grinder beating unranked fighters. He could beat contenders. Cody Stamann came next, a wrestler with a reputation for stuffing takedowns, but against Merab, he was outclassed everywhere. That was the moment people stopped thinking of Merab as a gatekeeper and started thinking of him as a contender.
I said I'd give Cody the boxing advantage, but the reality is having success with the wrestling with the takedowns. But once again, Cody's
sits back
of action, a lot of punches being thrown. And look at that.
Merab had collected a steady amount of dominant wins and a great reason for the UFC to keep him. But Merab still had a long way to go, just sitting in the top 15 of the bantamweight division, and the fight that truly cemented his reputation came there just after, in September 2021. Marlon Moraes was a dangerous former title challenger, and he had earlier in his career knocked out Merab's close friend Aljamain Sterling in just 1 minute.
Back to the center they go.
And Merab was up against him next. If he won this, he would finally break into the bantamweight top 10 and move on to a 7-fight win streak. But if he lost the fight, his reputation he had built would be ruined due to Moraes' decline and losing streak. The stakes were high for Merab. The fight starts, and early in round 1, Moraes hurt Merab badly.
Fighting down the rankings.
He was rocked, dropped, and very nearly finished. Many referees would probably even have stopped the fight during this sequence. But Merab was lucky, as he got out of danger and recovered from the brutal damage.
Why wouldn't you? You would think if you, after hurting your opponent like that, I would empty the gas tank too.
And lasted the entire round. Round 2 then started, and he came back, and he showed us a different side of the machine.
As good as
Merab started drowning Moraes under pressure. He took him down, applied heavy ground and pound, endless shots, until the referee eventually had to step in.
Got that wrist control now. That'll do it for Merab Dvalishvili. Victory from the jaws of defeat.
Merab, known for endless cardio and a relentless pace, finally got his first finish in the UFC. That night, Merab proved his toughness. He could take hell and still outlast you. And with this victory, Merab was finally getting closer to his final goal, to become a UFC champion. But due to the high level of competition in the bantamweight division, there were a lot of fighters in his way, and one of them was Petr Yan, Merab's next big fight. Merab was coming of a win against the former champion Jose Aldo, but for the first time in a long time, it wasn't as dominant as most his other wins, succeeding to land 0 takedowns against Aldo, who was a striker. And Yan was one of the most feared and skilled fighters at bantamweight. Precise boxing, a solid ground game, and also a former champion. So Merab came into this fight as a big underdog. Most people thought that Merab would get knocked out and wouldn't be able to do much to a technician like Yan. But for 5 rounds, Yan couldn't breathe. Merab attempted 49 takedowns, which broke the UFC record. He outstruck him, outpaced him, and outworked him.
Takedown for Dvalishvili. He just looks pretty good. He's not gassed. He's not totally dead in the water. He's just dealing.
And then it was reversed. It was kind of like, yeah, everybody was there to see him.
Yan wasn't just beaten, he was broken.
50-45, your winner by unanimous decision, Merab!
Losing a brutal 50-45 decision. And that was the moment the world realized that Merab wasn't just a contender. He was the biggest threat in the bantamweight division, and he was now very deserving of a title shot. But there was a problem. Merab's closest friend, Aljamain Sterling, was the champion.
Me and Aljo, we're never going to fight each other. We are good friends.
The UFC wanted them to fight. Dana White even publicly criticized their refusal.
It would be a really bad idea for Merab to go down that path. Does Merab want a shot at the title, or would Merab rather have people under him jump over him and him have to take on all these different tough guys when he's not even getting a title shot when he's next in line for it?
But Merab never wavered, and he refused to fight his brother. That loyalty ultimately slowed his path to the belt. Fans wondered if he was sacrificing his own career, but it also earned him respect. In a sport fueled by ego, Merab's loyalty stood out. So while Merab waited until Aljo wasn't champion anymore, he fought another former champion in Henry Cejudo. But he wasn't just a former champion. He had won 3 Olympic gold medals, and he had been a 2-division UFC champion, one of the most decorated fighters in history. But he was out of his prime. Still, Merab had never faced a wrestler of this level before, so this was still a big challenge for the machine. And many people still doubted him going into the fight, believing Cejudo could be the one to neutralize Merab's wrestling. But when the fight started, Merab made it look as dominant as all the others, and he even picked up the 3-time gold medalist and walked around with him around the octagon, taunting him. Nobody else can do something like that, especially to a 3-time Olympic gold medalist.
Cejudo. Less.
Cejudo's got to turn and face him. He's not used to being ragdolled like this.
The Georgian has done it.
Relentless pace, constant pressure, unstoppable cardio. He outworked Cejudo and proved once again, nobody could match the pressure of the machine. Finally, it was time for Merab to get the title shot, as Sean O'Malley just had gotten the title from Sterling, which gave Merab the opportunity to fight for the title since his good friend was no longer the champion and had gone up a whole new weight class at that. So Sean O'Malley was the next challenge for Merab, the sniper, UFC's golden boy. The UFC had put a lot of belief in Sean, building him up as the next big superstar for the UFC. Although the dominance Merab had shown in his previous fights, and what he was able to do to both strikers and grapplers, Sean was still the favorite going into this fight. A tall, rangy sniper who could put anybody's lights out with one punch. Fans said Merab couldn't hold him down, and that O'Malley's striking would eventually find him. If a washed Marias could almost finish Merab, O'Malley's sniper hands would knock him out. That was the narrative that got O'Malley to become the favorite for this fight. But for 5 rounds, O'Malley was smothered, taken down, held down, and neutralized.
Go to that front headlock. This front headlock down, it is so exhausting to keep getting up and then taking back down.
A little bit more light on it. Oh, there it is. Oh, my God.
For the winner by unanimous decision, and
Merab didn't just win, he dominated. And with that, the bantamweight belt finally belonged to the machine. But the journey doesn't end there. To be the champion, you have to defend your title. And the fans didn't believe that Merab could hold the belt for long, as his first title defense was against Umar Nurmagomedov, the cousin of Khabib, and an undefeated Dagestani prospect. People believed Umar to be more skilled than Merab in every area of mixed martial arts, and that the only thing he had was his cardio. If Merab could take a win against Umar, that would be the win that puts him in the pound-for-pound top 5 conversation. And that is where Merab was headed. For the first 2 rounds, Umar looked sharp and won both rounds. But Merab does what Merab always does. He outlasted him, rallied back, and dominated the final 3 rounds, showboating and taunting along the way. This was the moment Merab solidified his name in the sport. If Merab could win against a high-level opponent like Umar, he was unstoppable. Merab was now in the top 5 pound-for-pound list, but people still had their doubts about him. There was a narrative about Merab, that he had no finishing power, and that he was a boring fighter, even though he was dominating every single one of his opponents. He got compared to the likes of Bilal Muhammad, who was infamous for having boring fights and not being able to get any finishes at all. Both fighters only had 1 finish in their recent fights, so Merab needed to get a finish now more than anything. Then came a rematch with Sean O'Malley, but this time, he didn't just dominate. He finished O'Malley with a guillotine choke in the 3rd round, and silenced all of his haters, proving that Merab also has a way of finishing his opponents, and that he was not a one-trick pony. After this fight, Merab was sitting at 2 title defenses and multiple wins over former champions, all in dominant fashion. This began the discussion: is Merab the Bantamweight GOAT? Merab, TJ Dillashaw, Aljamain Sterling, and Dominic Cruz. These are the names everybody started discussing of as the greatest fighter in the bantamweight division, but nobody had been as dominant as Merab has now been, and there was still an unanswered question about Merab. Can Merab knock out a well-rounded striker? As the title shot then goes to Corey Sandhagen, after a dominant win over the former champion in Davison Figueiredo, Merab says he looks to knock him out to prove that he can actually strike as well.
What is it about Corey Sandhagen that makes you feel you can knock him out? And how aggressive will you be in trying to land that punch?
Nobody give me any problems, even in striking. You know, I fought Petr Yan, I fought Jose Aldo, I fought Sean O'Malley 2 times. Nobody can do shit. So I'm the GOAT, I'm the champion, and I will prove it again. Whatever fights will go, I'm ready, but my goal is to knock him out. I said I will finish Sean O'Malley 2nd fight, I did. So now, this is my 2nd challenge.
If you know about Corey, you know he has dangerous striking that poses a threat for anybody in the top 15 in the division.
Oh! What a time! That is gonna do it!
And in the 1st round of the fight, that is exactly what he shows, winning the round and keeping up with the pace of Merab. But in the 2nd round, it all turns around. Merab catches Corey with powerful shots and almost takes him out, dropping him to his knees. Unfortunately for Merab, he didn't get the stoppage he was looking for, but he took the fight to a dominant decision with a scorecard of 49-45. Either way, he proved that he was an actual threat on both the feet and the ground, further just solidifying the title of Bantamweight GOAT. Today, Merab Dvalishvili sits among the top 3 pound-for-pound fighters in the world. From an immigrant laborer who spoke no English to one of the most dominant champions in UFC history. From 0 to 2 in the UFC to breaking legends. Merab doesn't just win fights, he breaks people. He takes away their will to fight. And that is how the machine took over the UFC.